Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. Halloween is right around the corner, tomorrow in fact. So I hope everyone has some pretty cool costumes. If you're wearing a Sasquatch costume, no hoaxes, okay? Don't do that. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about the Nahanni Valley. I recently spoke about it briefly in a video not that long ago. But I've been reading through Legends of the Nahanni Valley by Hammerson. It's a really sweet book that he sent me. And towards the end of the book, there's a couple really good chapters on like cryptozoology and Sasquatch type creatures. And it's really well written. And I kind of got the chills kind of reading through these chapters. Just, it really painted a picture for me. There's been so many accounts and reports for the past, for a long time, for hundreds of years. And it's really interesting. Most of the reports in this book that are talked about are really old and, stuff I've never heard about. So up north in those parts near the Nahanni Valley and, in that whole area, they talk about a creature called the Nahanni. Not the Nahanni, the Nahanni. And in most cases, it's described as a Sasquatch type creature, like we're familiar with, like in all our modern day reports, the giant biped covered in long hair. In most of these reports, it is consistent with our modern reports. So they speak about, having a really foul odor. The creature really smells right before there's an encounter or before someone gets snatched by one of these things. There's reports of like a bizarre odor and that intense feeling of dread and fear. And when we go back to a lot of these early reports, there's stories of like trappers and fur traders in the area and just regular explorers where they will be with a First Nations tribe, and they would write in their journals how these people were genuinely scared of something in the woods. Like they talked about this Nahanni creature and they were genuinely scared of it. Not just like it was some sort of story, but as if they feared for their lives that they were going to be attacked by some kind of creature or group of creatures. Now there's legends of these beasts raiding First Nations camps and stealing meat and fish and, even kidnapping the women and the children. So they were genuinely scared of this. Oh, there's also reports of rock throwing, and branch throwing, which is consistent with a lot of the things we hear nowadays as well. But, these explorers and fur traders, they wrote about this. They're like, I don't know what's going on, but these people are scared of something. The one guy wrote that, he could go hide in the bushes outside of the camp and make whistling noises, and the people in the camp would just huddle together in fear. And he didn't know what the heck was going on. But yeah, we have the giant biped, long hair, brown, really dark brown, even reddish colored hair sometimes. They also describe red eyes. And I know there's a lot of modern reports of Sasquatch being sighted with red eyes, but it's really weird. And the reason, I titled this video Bizarre Creatures Spotted in the Nahanni Valley is that, there's not just talk of this Sasquatch looking being. There's also these weird reports of beings that seem to be more like primitive human beings and early humans. Almost like Neanderthal-like creatures. And that is very interesting. Some of these reports even have, descriptions of these things wearing what look like stitched together primitive clothing. And, they're kind of a bit more human-like, and they're even said to maybe utilize tools, which makes me think that they might just be another tribe of some kind. And one of the explanations that is talked about in this book is that these people are scared of whatever's in the woods because prior to a lot of these reports, there was a lot of raiding going on between First Nations tribes. So, it could just be something that was kind of held over through time, just kind of like maybe a defense mechanism or a fear response that they would just huddle together and prepare for the worst because, for so long they were used to other tribes coming in and destroying their camps and killing people and then, doing things of that nature. But the really weird thing is, we have these reports, and there's lots of reports of people turning up with their heads missing. They call it the Headless Valley. We had the Frank and Willie Scott story where their bodies turned up. They were prospectors, and they vanished. Then eventually someone came upon their bodies, and they were missing their heads. And a lot of the reports from these First Nations tribes is that, these Nahanni beings like to decapitate their prey, I guess. It's very strange, which makes me think, like, what, do they rip their heads off? What, do they twist them off? Or are they utilizing tools to do this? Or are we dealing with maybe multiple beings, multiple cryptids? We have really solid anecdotes that suggest there's a Bigfoot creature or creatures inhabiting the Nahanni Valley, but there's a lot of stories that also, describe that early human-like being, which in the descriptions here, there's a thing called the Nukluk. It's written about in this book, and that seems to be more like a smaller, very primitive human that wears, clothes, and, in some instances it's not wearing clothes, but its face, is very human-like, and it even has like a really long beard, which is kind of strange. So it might be maybe a more primitive type of human, or they could also be just very, reclusive people. Maybe they're outcasts. Maybe they were a group of people that were banished based on, weird practices like cannibalism or something like that. But there's so many crazy mysteries and stories like this in the Nahanni Valley and in that area. Legends, passed down through the Dene culture that are just very bone-chilling. And I don't know, they creep me out. I would love to visit the Nahanni Valley. It's a beautiful looking place, and it's one of the last areas on this planet, that isn't fully explored. That's what they say. They say the Nahanni Valley, a lot of it is unexplored. Just, I guess, based on its location, and there's no real road access. If you're gonna check out the Nahanni Valley, you usually have to do it by helicopter or bush plane, or you have to do a wicked river expedition, either on like whitewater rafts or canoes. I think a lot of people choose to do it on canoes, but I do know nowadays there's a lot of tourism up there, and there's a lot of companies that run river tours. One of my instructors that I had in college actually worked on the Nahanni, like the South Nahanni River area, and he was a river guide. So very interesting. I don't know what we're dealing with here. It's just, I got to get more books, because when I read these books, I find stories and anecdotes that I never heard before. And, the internet, you think, has everything, but you got to dig a little bit deeper sometimes into other people's research. And then you find stuff that, is really interesting. But the Nahanni, is it a Bigfoot creature? Is it a primitive human? I think there's a chance we're dealing with both. Lots of giant footprints found. In the description of the creature, it's basically like a 8 to 10 foot tall, really muscular creature with long hair and in some cases red eyes. So that to me is a Sasquatch with the foul smell and the zapping tactic that it appears to be using in some of these cases. It's basically Sasquatch, and it's in a remote wilderness area. I say Sasquatch. There's obviously, in this area, there's going to be a lot of other wildlife. Like, there's going to be plenty of bears, grizzly bears, black bears, wolves, things of that nature. So the chance does exist of misidentification. But a group of people living in this area for hundreds of years, they're going to be able to tell what a bear is. I don't think they're going to misidentify, common animals like that. But when you look at the Nahanni Valley and you look at where it is, and then you read up on the migration of early humans coming across the land bridge, it would make sense that maybe up in that area there was a strange mix of different beings that existed at the same time. If humans weren't the only ones to come across, I think that would be the area that there would be other strange creatures. There's even weird talk about like dwarf-like creatures, which is like, the stories get way out there, which is very interesting. But nonetheless, I really enjoy this book. If you want to check it out, I have a link below in the description. You can pick up a copy on Amazon. Legends of the Nahanni Valley by Hammerson Peters. It's not just Bigfoot stuff. The Bigfoot stuff's just a couple chapters, and the rest of the book is like other crazy stories about, gold prospecting and other expeditions and adventures and legends, and, talk of the Headless Valley, and it's just great stuff. But thanks, Hammerson, for sending me this book. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everyone has a great Halloween tomorrow. Stay safe. If you guys haven't checked out Wildman, the Bigfoot Odyssey, check it out at realhouse.org. The link is down below in the description. If you want to become a patron and support the channel, the link for that is also below. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Thanks for watching this episode of Mountain Beast Mysteries. We'll see you next time.